Mike Vaccaro, New York Post sports columnist, and he's written another book. It's called The Bosses of the Bronx, The Endless Drama of the Yankees Under the House of Steinbrenner. And Mike joins us on the program. So what brought you to this moment where you go, you know what? I got to tell this story.
You know what, Dan? I hear from a lot of younger generation Yankee fans who really didn't know George, or if they knew him, they knew the kindly old man who would walk into Yankee Stadium and get ovations. And they don't know, and a lot of people of our generation kind of forget that 10 years before that, he was walking into the stadium to a lot different reaction every day he went there. And it was a full, complete story of who he was, who he became, the good, the bad, everything in between, the crazy, lots of crazy in there, Dan. And I wanted to get that between the covers of a book, and I thought it would be a fun project. And it was a blast to go back, especially to the older George, the 70s and the 80s, and just all the nuttiness and zaniness that went on under him.
I was there in the early 80s. I was working at CNN in New York, and I just remember that you couldn't walk on the grass at Yankee Stadium. If you're a reporter, right? You had to walk on the dirt. And I did meet with him. I did meet him a couple of times, got to interview him once. And I actually sent him a letter to say, hey, thank you for sitting down with me. And he said, I'm a big fan of Ted Turner, who started CNN. Anytime I can help you, you let me know. It wasn't long after that Billy Martin got fired again. And so I had somebody help me call Steinbrenner's office. I said, hey, it's Dan Patrick from CNN. Could you ask Mr. Steinbrenner if I can talk to him? I never heard back from George Steinbrenner after that.
Still waiting in that callback, huh?
Still waiting. He did write me a letter, though,
Yeah.
at CNN. I still have it. I have it framed here. But he did write me a letter and talked about, Ted Turner. So there was always this fear. Like I don't know, did he want people, did he want media, did he want players to fear him?
I think he liked being known as the boss. I mean, even before the New York papers figured out that the boss was a more headline-friendly word than Steinbrenner, he called himself the boss, and that drove Billy Martin crazy. And he acted it. Look, I mean, he liked being in charge of the Yankees. That's what appealed to him about, being part of the group that bought the Yankees. He wanted to be the guy in New York with the Yankees. And that's what it was all about. Very imperious, very impetuous. And together, those made for some pretty harrowing times for Yankees fans, certainly in the 80s when they won more games than any other team in the sport and couldn't win a championship because every now and again they go on a losing streak and George would fire somebody or he'd trade somebody, and that was that. The Yankees themselves used to call it getting Georged. And that happened a lot in those years.
But should he be in the Hall of Fame?
You know what? I for a lot of years, Dan, I thought the answer was no, because you know what? 2 suspensions is probably one too many to be considered. But you know what? His son Hal told me this one time. He said, you can't write a history of baseball without writing a couple of chapters about my father, and he's right. And the more I considered, say, Pete Rose, right? To me, I think Pete Rose belongs in the Hall of Fame, but I think his plaque should say the first half should be, got the 4,000 hits and did everything he did. And the second half should be why he got in trouble with baseball later on. And I think similarly, it's important to do that with Steinbrenner, because look, for better or worse, the teams that he owned won 7 championships. Every other owner in the Hall combined won 9. And yeah, he was suspended, and I think the baseball is a museum, and it's supposed to tell the whole story of baseball, and the important figures in baseball should be on the walls there. And I do think at this point that he should get on. I don't think it's going to happen for a while. He has never really gotten any traction, but I think he should.